We are currently witnessing the quietest, most calculated wealth transfer in modern retail history, and it is happening right inside your shopping cart. For decades, the American supermarket operated on a simple, predictable covenant. You trade your hard-earned money for safe, fresh food, and the store takes a razor-thin margin of 2 to 3% on the volume. That covenant is dead. In 2026, the grocery store is no longer a community pantry. It has been hollowed out and converted into a financial extraction machine, engineered by private equity algorithms, real estate investment trusts, and high-frequency pricing software. The paradox is staggering. As technology advances and supply chains digitize, the actual food arriving on your table is getting older, more compromised, and radically more expensive. We are told this is the inevitable ghost of inflation, a lingering side effect of global logistics bottlenecks. But that is a carefully manufactured lie. The data reveals an entirely different reality, a massive widening asymmetry between the corporate giants who control the distribution nodes and the captive consumers who have no choice but to eat. Consider this single, chilling anomaly. Right now, in major metropolitan hubs across the United States, there are corporate grocery chains charging unsuspecting customers more per pound for industrial, factory-farmed chicken breast than a mid-tier steakhouse charges for a hand-cut, grain-fed sirloin. Let that sink in. A commodity that takes less than 8 weeks to raise, slaughter, and package is being positioned as a luxury asset at the register. Meanwhile, at the exact opposite end of the spectrum, a discount chain that most middle-class Americans drive past without a second look, a brand historically dismissed as a chaotic repository for expired processed goods, is quietly running the tightest, most scientifically rigorous food safety operation in the entire retail industry. This video is not a superficial critique of which storefront has the prettiest misting nozzles in the produce section or the most polite cashiers. The aesthetic of freshness is a multi-million-dollar marketing illusion designed to manipulate your neurobiology. Look closer at the architecture of the modern supermarket. 7 specific chains have made a cold mathematical calculation. They have looked at their balance sheets and determined exactly how far they can let food safety rot, how aggressively they can shrink a package while holding the price steady, and how much toxic corporate debt they can unload onto their operations before you, the customer, notice the decay. They are betting on your fatigue. They know that after a 40-hour work week, you do not have the investigative stamina to audit the temperature logs of a deli counter or verify the organic certification paperwork of a pallet of blueberries imported from a shell corporation overseas. They are counting on your compliance. But over the next 25 minutes, we are going to dismantle that illusion. We are going to look at the proprietary pricing algorithms currently adjusting shelf prices in real time, based on your demographic data, the catastrophic health department citations buried in municipal databases, and the systematic destruction of the retail labor force that has turned our grocery stores into public health liability. By the time this narrative concludes, the map of your neighborhood will look fundamentally different. You will understand precisely which 7 corporate entities view your family's health as an acceptable casualty of quarterly earnings reports, and which 7 anomalies are actually fighting to deserve your grocery budget. The scale of the deception is vast, the economic forces are predatory, and the truth starts with the absolute worst offender on the list. To understand how the American supermarket transformed into a predatory pricing mechanism and a public health liability, we have to look closely at the structural decisions made behind closed doors between 2015 and 2024. The crisis of the modern grocery store is not an accident of geography, nor is it a random side effect of recent economic shifts. It is the direct consequence of rapid corporate consolidation, aggressive algorithmic pricing rollouts, and the systematic reduction of frontline floor personnel. The industry has effectively consolidated into a tightly controlled oligopoly, where a handful of multi-billion-dollar parent companies dictate the cost, availability, and safety threshold of food across thousands of regional communities. The modern geographic trap began to harden significantly in 2024 during the regulatory battles surrounding the attempted merger between Kroger and Albertsons. Had the $46 billion deal succeeded, It would have consolidated thousands of storefronts under a single management matrix, creating vast food deserts in areas where overlapping stores were inevitably slated for closure. While federal antitrust regulators ultimately stalled the consolidation, the multi-year legal distraction caused both corporations to divert capital away from basic structural upkeep. Internal infrastructure rotted while executive attention focused entirely on corporate scale. Across hundreds of Safeway, Vons, and Jewel Osco locations, aging refrigeration units were left unserviced. According to state health inspection filings from California and Arizona, municipal citations for critical temperature failures in perishable food cases rose by more than 20% between 2024 and 2026. The corporate entities chose to spend millions on legal fees and merger defense while leaving floor-level infrastructure to decay, directly passing the hidden physical risk down to the consumer. Simultaneously, a more insidious shift was occurring on the physical store shelves. In 2024, corporate giants like Kroger and Walmart began aggressively deploying electronic shelf labels across their retail networks. By mid-2026, these digital displays reached nearly a quarter of all traditional supermarkets in the United States. In the Cincinnati market alone, Kroger transitioned 103 out of 104 locations to the electronic tagging matrix. While the public relations narrative framed these devices as a tool for operational efficiency and labor reduction, the underlying architecture allowed for rapid, centralized margin manipulation. In August 2024, United States senators launched a formal investigation into the technology, warning that digital price tags laid the groundwork for dynamic pricing models. This software allows a central corporate server to adjust the price of basic staples like milk, bread, and meat instantly based on peak foot traffic, local weather variations, or regional demographic data. While corporate spokespersons issued official denials regarding the live deployment of surge pricing, the physical ability to change store-wide pricing with a single keystroke altered the power dynamic between the store and the shopper. Consumers no longer had a stable baseline for the cost of their weekly groceries. The shelf price became a fluid, unpredictable target that fluctuated at the whim of corporate software. Insight.northwestern.edu show 1. While major supermarket chains manipulated margins via digital infrastructure, the discount sector experienced an entirely different kind of breakdown. The geographic expansion of extreme discount retailers into low-income and rural areas created an entirely separate food safety hazard. This crisis reached a critical turning point in February 2024 when Family Dollar stores pleaded guilty to a federal criminal charge of holding food, drugs, and cosmetics under unsanitary conditions. The Department of Justice unsealed a criminal information document detailing a catastrophic rodent infestation at the company's regional distribution center in West Memphis, Arkansas. Federal investigators documented live rodents, decaying carcasses, rodent feces, and extensive physical evidence of nesting throughout a massive facility that supplied over 400 retail storefronts across 6 southern states. The subsequent plea agreement resulted in a $41.6 million fine, marking the largest monetary criminal penalty ever recorded in a food safety case. Justice.gov. Issue 1. The legal consequences did not stop at the federal level. In January 2025, the Tennessee Attorney General finalized a separate $1.1 million civil settlement with Family Dollar stores after state investigators proved the company knowingly continued to sell adulterated consumer goods to citizens long after internal contamination logs were generated. The corporate management matrix brought almost no structural urgency to the breakdown because the business model relied entirely on operating with skeletal floor crews. The operational model utilized by both Family Dollar and Dollar General intentionally pairs maximum physical real estate expansion with minimal staffing expenses, frequently running an entire retail space with only 1 or 2 employees per shift. When corporate structures reduce human labor to this degree, basic operational tasks like pest control, temperature tracking, and food rotation become physically impossible to execute. The regulatory fines were absorbed as a standard cost of doing business, while the actual low-income communities trapped in these food zones were left with no alternative sources for their daily nutrition. w.lakememphis.com. This convergence of corporate negligence and automated pricing represents the true trap of the modern grocery sector. The historical record demonstrates that whenever corporate supermarket networks face financial pressure or pursuing merger activities, the first operational categories to be gutted are labor and maintenance. The reduction of experienced meat cutters, deli workers, and floor managers has eliminated the human buffer that historically kept retail food safe. The infrastructure of the contemporary supermarket has been stripped down to maximize short-term cash flow for institutional shareholders, leaving the public to navigate an unpredictable maze of volatile prices and systemic contamination. The systemic breakdown of the American grocery sector manifests in real time across the nation through ongoing labor disputes, corporate policy pivots, and federal food safety enforcement actions. As the industry advances through 2026, the structural cracks that began with corporate consolidation have translated into daily operational friction on the supermarket floor. The ongoing tension between centralized corporate mandates and regional regulatory compliance has created an environment where operational standards continue to drop, forcing federal and state entities to intervene with increasing frequency. A primary driver of this operational decline is the widespread labor crisis across major supermarket networks. In late 2025 and early 2026, United Food and Commercial Workers locals across multiple states, including California, Washington, and Ohio, filed dozens of unfair labor practice charges against corporate operators like Kroger and Albertsons. These filings document a pattern of chronic understaffing that directly compromises food handling procedures. According to deposition transcripts from an ongoing labor arbitration case in Seattle, departments responsible for processing raw meats and maintaining ready-to-eat deli counters are routinely left with less than half of their budgeted human resources. The direct result of this labor deficit is documented in public health databases. In the first quarter of 2026, county health departments in 3 major metropolitan areas recorded a 27% increase in cross-contamination citations during routine inspections. Workers testified that under the current corporate scheduling algorithms, they are forced to choose between meeting strict shelf stocking quotas or executing mandatory sanitation protocols for meat slicers and walk-in freezers. The operational friction is further compounded by the aggressive rollout of automated checkout systems. Internal retail inventory reports from early 2026 indicate that the rapid transition from staffed registers to self-checkout kiosks has backfired on corporate bottom lines, driving up inventory loss, commonly referred to in the retail industry as shrink, to record levels. In response, major chains have implemented drastic policy reversals. In April 2026, Walmart confirmed the complete removal of self-checkout lanes from several regional hubs, including locations in Missouri and Ohio, replacing them with traditional cashiers in an attempt to curb product diversion and operational chaos. This constant shifting of floor layout and personnel assignments has further demoralized the frontline workforce, leading to an industry-wide employee turnover rate that exceeds 60% annually in the grocery retail sector simultaneously. Federal oversight bodies have been forced to escalate enforcement actions against supply chain distribution hubs. In May 2026, the Food and Drug Administration issued a comprehensive warning letter to a major regional logistics partner supplying produce to prominent chains along the East Coast. The warning letter detailed systematic compliance failures regarding temperature monitoring during transit, noting that multiple shipments of leafy greens and pre-cut fruits were allowed to sit on hot loading docks for hours before being loaded into retail delivery vehicles. The document explicitly connected these distribution failures to the localized outbreaks of foodborne illness recorded in late 2025. The supply chain has become so complex and fragmented that when a contamination event occurs, tracing the product back to its farm of origin takes weeks, allowing compromised items to remain on store shelves and in consumer homes long after the initial hazard is identified. The deep dive into public regulatory data also exposes significant discrepancies in the pricing mechanisms utilized by premium grocery brands. Investigations conducted by state attorneys' general offices in early 2026 revealed that digital loyalty programs, which require the use of smartphone applications to unlock advertised discounts, frequently fail to apply the correct pricing matrix at the point of sale. A multi-state audit completed in March 2026 found that at several premium and traditional chains, including Safeway and Whole Foods, up to 6% of scanned transactions resulted in overcharges for items attached to digital coupons. For a consumer purchasing 50 items, this represents an invisible, recurring financial penalty, while corporate representatives attribute these errors to localized software synchronization delays. Consumer protection advocates have filed class action lawsuits, alleging that the persistent nature of these errors points to systematic revenue extraction from unaware shoppers. The data gathered from public health inspections and labor filings from the past 12 months demonstrates that the contemporary supermarket has reached an operational impasse. Corporate management structures continue to prioritize algorithmic optimization and automated systems to satisfy institutional investors, while the physical reality on the ground consists of decaying infrastructure, an exhausted and poorly trained workforce, and a vulnerable supply chain. The balance between corporate profitability and public safety has swung decisively away from the consumer, transforming the weekly act of purchasing food into a calculation of economic extraction